Hi everybody, today it's October the 3rd and I want to give you a new update of my founding journey. And this week I mainly spent time on testing some of the core assumptions that I have. Yeah? So when you build a business model, you always have assumptions and you also get feedback on these assumptions. Sometimes the feedback might be divergent. And so then it makes sense to try to get some numbers on certain assumptions that you have. And in this week, I've used a tool that I developed myself called the Synthetic A/B Experimenter that allows you very quickly to at least get some feeling for some of the essential assumptions that you might have. So I will show you briefly in this video, I have used this tool for two of the essential assumptions that I have for my business model. So one assumption is that I think using challenges can be engaging for the pre-conference platform that I have. And the second assumption is that anonymity might be a nice function of my platform that makes it more attractive. So I will show you how I've used my synthetic A/B experimenter to actually test these assumptions. So let's get started.
Founding out loud.
Yes, so first assumption that I wanted to test is whether providing challenges during the pre-conference period can stimulate engagement. And I got some divergent feedback on that. Some people said, yeah, it can make sense as long as the challenges are really interesting for the participants. But I also got feedback, for instance, Mohammed last week was quite critical about this topic of challenges. He was actually of the opinion that it would make more sense to have people just interacting with each other, for instance, stimulated by an AI chatbot. So these are divergent opinions, and so therefore it makes sense to test this assumption. So what did I do? I use here this synthetic A/B experimenter. So let me briefly explain how it works. So you need to provide an OpenAI key, and you can use the key of OpenAI, but you could also use a Croc API key where you can use open source models. But now I use the OpenAI key. Here you have to take into account that then you need to pay for the tokens. Now it's not that much, it's like 5 cents per 100 respondents, but still you need to realize that you need to pay here. You have to indicate the temperature that you can best set at 0 here, and all the other things you can actually put standard. And so then what we need to do is to give some input. So let me show you what kind of input you need to give. So of course you need to give an age range. So in my case, age range from 20 to 25 makes sense. You can here adjust the geographical focus. Now we'll focus on Europe. Here you need to describe your target customer segment. So in my case, I formulated as professionals that have registered for a business conference. And you can add some additional criteria that you want to test. And in this case, for me, an important criterion is the distinction between introverts and extroverts. So that was kind of the starting point from which I developed this idea. So I want to have this personality criterion taken into account. And here I indicated that I wanted to have 100 respondents. Now what I then have to provide is two different scenarios. So an A scenario and a B scenario. And in my case, the A scenario is a scenario where I explain my platform Triad Spark, emphasizing the challenges. Yeah? So in the A scenario, I will emphasize that participants will have to do challenges, whereas in the B scenario, I don't emphasize the challenges. I actually emphasize that here people will engage in conversations driven by an AI chatbot. So that's my A/B experiment. So in the A scenario, I will highlight the issue of challenges. In the B scenario, I highlight the issue of interactions, and all the other things are remained constant. And then I actually have an evaluation question. So here I'm saying, how likely are you to register for the Triad Spark platform, where 0 means definitely will not register and 10 means that you definitely will register. And I use a Likert scale with a maximum score of 10. And so then I pressed on Run A/B Experiment. And then actually this tool will create for me a random sample based on all the kind of criteria that I provided. And then for every of these, in this case 200 people, it would create a persona. And then that persona has to kind of answer on a 10-point Likert scale for both scenarios. It needs to give a score between 0 and 10. And then here you can actually get the full document with the persona and the scorings, but here you immediately get a statistical analysis. And for instance, in this case, we can see the average score for the A scenario is 7.6, and for the B scenario, it's also 7.6. Yeah? So there is actually no significant difference here. You can also see that statistical tests show no significant difference. Actually, it then also does an analysis for the different genders, for the different age groups, and for the personality characteristics. And in this case, actually, none of them show a significant difference. So that means whether I emphasize the challenge part or whether I emphasize the interaction part, that doesn't seem to make a significant difference. Yeah? So in this case, I can use the challenges or the interaction according to these synthetic outcomes. It will not make a real difference. I did a similar A/B test for this issue of anonymity. So there the A scenario was that I really highlighted anonymity. In the B scenario, I didn't highlight that point. So there people would just know identities. Also there I did some tests. And again, overall, there was no significant difference. However, for the personality, there was a significant difference there. So in that case, actually, it showed that introverts would really prefer anonymity. And there was a significant higher score for introverts for the anonymity scenario, which actually confirms my assumption. As you might remember, I started from this introvert perspective, and there indeed having anonymity was actually a good thing. I actually also expected that there could have been a gender effect, but that was not the case. So there it didn't seem to have an impact, but at least there for introversion, my kind of assumption was confirmed. Yeah, so I hope this shows how you can use this particular tool to at least get a first insight in some of your assumptions. Of course, a disclaimer is here that this is fully synthetic. Yeah? So I have built here personas with a large language model that subsequently provides scores. To what extent that reflects reality is open for debate. Yeah? So I'm definitely not arguing that this is replacing real customer testing, but at least it allows you to very quickly in the initial stages of your startup building trajectory to already get some indication. I think that's how we can see it here. Okay, so I hope this was interesting. Now I will move forward to the next step, and next week I will give you another update. So thanks for your attention. Bye.